Yeah, it was supposed to be a celebration, a night of history, music, and pure rock and roll. But for Jimi Hendrix, this wasn't just any performance, it was the last one. His final scheduled show with the Jimi Hendrix Experience, the pinnacle of his 1970 Crowd Love Tour, was meant to be legendary. It was the open-air Love and Peace Festival in Fehmarn, Germany, and the world was waiting for the guitar god to take the stage, but something went terribly wrong. The crowd wasn't there for a peaceful gathering. They were frustrated, exhausted, and furious. But why? Well, so far, nothing had gone according to plan. The festival was a disaster from the start. The first day had been plagued by violence, largely attributed to the Hells Angels motorcycle gang and like-minded thugs who attended with the goal of instigating chaos. Then there were the numerous technical failures, with bad weather and a logistical nightmare that left the crowd stranded in the rain for hours. What was supposed to be a joyous celebration of freedom and love was quickly becoming a nightmare. The Jimi Hendrix Experience had originally been given the headlining slot of 8 p.m. on the second day, which was a Saturday, September 5th, but Mother Nature had other plans. The weather was outrageous. Here you could see Jimi getting off the train in the pouring rainstorm that afternoon, trying to get to a car to go to his hotel and get ready for the performance that night. But as the hours dragged on, the chaos only escalated. Rainstorms got worse and battered the festival grounds to death. Now the stage itself was deemed too dangerous and unsafe for any band to perform on, especially Jimi's. The stage had inches of water piling up on it, where you could imagine the danger of plugging in and using electronics and stuff. The hours passed by, the frustration grew, and finally, after an agonizing 16-hour delay, the moment everybody had been waiting for has finally arrived. Jimi Hendrix, armed with his iconic Woodstock Stratocaster, walked onto the stage. But instead of cheers, the air was thick with boos. The crowd, who had endured the rain and chaos, was furious. They even threw things at the stage. Their idol had kept them waiting for hours, and the tension was palpable. They weren't just disappointed, they were very angry. And that's when it all happened. Yeah, Hendrix, with a smirk on his face and a signature swagger, addressed the crowd. The boos were ringing in his ears, but he wasn't shaken. No, he was Hendrix, the big and bad Hendrix. Now his response was pure rock and roll defiance. Hendrix said, "I don't give a if you boo, as long as you boo in key, you mother." Jimi shot that back, with his voice cutting through the misty air. The audience went silent for a split second. Could this really be happening? But just as quickly, the boos started again. But you know Hendrix, he tried to give a further explanation, hoping it would shut him up. He just shrugged and said, "We couldn't come on last night. It was just unbearable." Jimi trying to explain the delays caused by the torrential condition. Now y'all know they didn't want to hear that at all. They had just been expecting to see Jimi since the night before. Now, none of this was actually Jimi's fault at all, or even his call. Hendrix's tour manager, Gerry Stickells, made the decision. You can listen and see the kind of closed-door drama that was taking place the night before that led into the delay until Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. when Jimi was actually rescheduled to show up. Take a listen.
A half hour before, I phoned with my friend. He's talking with Hendrix. A few hours. But Hendrix want to play tonight.
Yes, but not in these conditions. We were ready once already to come here. What is, no cars, the cars can't get in here?
Hendrix got the car.
Yes, but it can't get in here. I cannot help the weather, and he cannot play in this weather. I cannot help the rain. He will not play in the rain. I will not let him play in the rain. And if he's coming tomorrow, we will play tomorrow morning. Go back. Yeah, I just want to tell you.
But again, you know the crowd didn't understand what was going on. And most of them probably didn't even care. They just wanted to see Hendrix. And just when it seemed like the crowd might just be turning into an uncontrollable mob, something incredible happened. Jimi picked up that guitar. As the first notes of Howlin' Wolf's Killing Floor sliced through the air, the crowd slowly began to soften. The anger was still simmering, but it started to fade. Yeah, Hendrix, as if casting a spell, had the crowd in the palm of his hand once again. His fingers danced on the fretboard, igniting the fire of his performance. The boos started to turn into awe, and the audience, once hostile, was now hooked and swept away by the electric magic that only Jimmy could create. And yet, this wasn't just any performance. As he powered through classics like Spanish Castle Magic, All Along the Watchtower, and Purple Haze, there was an undeniable sense of finality in the air. This was the last time that the Jimi Hendrix Experience would ever play live together again. But why the boos? What turned a legendary crowd into a bitter mob? Perhaps it was just the frustration of the audience, who had been waiting for hours in the rain. Maybe it was the feeling of betrayal. Jimi Hendrix, their hero, had let them down by not showing up when he promised. Or perhaps it was just something deeper. The sense that the carefree, flower-powered days of Woodstock were behind them, and the times were changing now. The crowd just wasn't the same. It's like they were hardened, impatient, and perhaps even disillusioned with the very ideals that Hendrix had represented. But despite the tension, the performance, man, that was undeniable. As Hendrix ripped through the set, his guitar screams, his energy was unmatched, and the crowd slowly, begrudgingly, kind of started to forgive him. By the time he hit Voodoo Child, Slight Return, all was forgotten, or at least for the most part. The rain stopped, the crowd cheered, but the damage had already been done. Hendrix had faced his toughest audience yet, and he had come out victorious. Just barely though. And though the set continued with fire and fury, everyone in the crowd kind of knew this was the end of an era coming, somehow. It's like they knew. Just days later, Jimi Hendrix would be gone, leaving behind a legacy that would forever alter the course of music history. His final performance in Fame was the last time he would ever perform with the Experience. But the moment of tension, when he stood on the stage and faced the boos, because that can be rough, it was a pivotal moment, a reminder of the unpredictable and turbulent nature of fame. That's something that can get you. And as for Hendrix, this fella proved that nothing, not even the harshest boos, could shake him. After all, he was Jimi Hendrix, and that's what made him a legend. Yeah, man, I mean, boos can shake you out your shoes, if you know what I'm talking about. That's that famous time that Jimi Hendrix actually got booed, but he turned it into something big. I know some of y'all may have heard some of this story, but that's the insight I just gave you. And I hope y'all appreciate that coming from the Music Mindset channel. Y'all make sure y'all support the videos on this channel and come back for the next one. You never know what you're going to be learning. And I'm humble. You'll get an opportunity to teach if you can. I'm Mr. Mindset on the Music Mindset channel. I'm going to check you guys out later in the next one. Thanks.